The Cleveland Balloonfest disaster of 1986 is one of the most bizarre and tragic events in the history of public celebrations. What was intended to be a world record-setting event, where thousands of balloons were released into the sky, turned into a disaster that disrupted the city, caused significant damage, and even led to loss of life. The incident is an eerie reminder of how large-scale events, no matter how well-intentioned, can go awry when they are poorly planned or inadequately managed. Here is the detailed story of the Cleveland Balloonfest disaster. The plan, the balloon release event. In 1986, the United Way of Cleveland decided to organize an ambitious fundraising event to benefit local charities. The idea was to break the world record for the largest simultaneous balloon release. The event, dubbed Balloonfest 86, was intended to be a spectacle and a symbol of unity and joy. The organizers planned to release 1.5 million helium-filled balloons from Public Square in downtown Cleveland. This would be a massive visual display, with people of all ages participating, and it was designed to draw national attention to the United Way campaign. The balloons were to be released in unison, creating a colorful, uplifting moment that would last just a few minutes. The event was heavily promoted, with thousands of volunteers helping to prepare and inflate the balloons over the course of several days leading up to the release. There was a lot of excitement surrounding the spectacle, and many hoped it would raise millions of dollars for local charities. But what seemed like a harmless and fun event would quickly spiral out of control due to several unforeseen circumstances. The balloon release, October 22, 1986. On October 22, 1986, the day of the event, the stage was set for a massive release. 1.5 million balloons were inflated, and the crowd gathered in Public Square, Cleveland's main city center. At around 1:50 p.m., the balloons were released all at once, in an effort to break the world record. Initially, the release was a success. The balloons floated into the sky in a vast, colorful cloud. The scene was magnificent, and for a few moments, it seemed like the event would be a triumph of spectacle and charity. However, it didn't take long for problems to emerge. The unexpected consequences of the release. 1. Balloons blocking roads and airports. The balloons quickly drifted away from Public Square and began to cover large parts of the surrounding area, including major highways and the Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. As they scattered across the landscape, the balloons created visibility issues, flight delays, and road closures. Air traffic issues. One of the most critical consequences of the balloon release was the disruption of air traffic. At Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, the balloons clogged the airspace around the airport, forcing planes to divert their paths. Flights had to be rerouted, and some incoming flights were even delayed or cancelled as a result of the balloons creating visibility problems for pilots. Traffic disruptions. Additionally, the balloons drifted onto the major highways surrounding the city, creating traffic hazards and causing accidents. Drivers were caught off guard by the balloons, and many reported being unable to see clearly as the bright colors filled the sky. The traffic chaos led to significant delays and frustration for commuters. 2. Balloons causing environmental hazards. While the balloons were colorful and striking in the sky, they also posed serious environmental dangers. Many of the balloons that didn't immediately burst or deflate fell into lakes, rivers, and forests, creating a significant litter problem. Lake Erie. Some of the balloons fell into Lake Erie, causing concern for wildlife, as balloons are harmful to marine life and can cause ingestion or entanglement of animals. Although balloons eventually degrade, they can take a long time to break down, leading to prolonged environmental issues. 3. The tragic death of a man. The boat incident, perhaps the most devastating consequence of the event, was its connection to a tragic death. The incident, the balloons that were released drifted across a vast area, and among them were some that ended up over Lake Erie, where a small plane was attempting to make an emergency landing. The plane crashed into the water as a result of the balloons blocking its path, causing the tragic death of one of the passengers aboard. A fatal accident, the crash of a Cessna 172, piloted by a man named Paul L. C. Rosenthal, who had been flying in Lake Erie, was attributed to the balloon debris in the sky. The balloons obstructed the pilot's line of sight, resulting in the crash and subsequent loss of life. The passenger was killed during the emergency landing attempt. 4. The aftermath and public outcry. In the days that followed, Cleveland's media and residents began to express outrage over the balloon release. The United Way and the organizers were heavily criticized for the lack of planning and foresight in terms of the environmental and logistical implications of the event. Backlash. The event's aftermath saw a great deal of criticism directed at the organizers for failing to anticipate the chaos and environmental harm that would come from releasing millions of balloons into the air. Local environmental groups, in particular, were vocal about the damage caused by the debris and the potential risks to wildlife. Legal action and lawsuits. In the wake of the disaster, several lawsuits were filed against the United Way and the event organizers. Families of the victim from the plane crash filed lawsuits seeking damages for the wrongful death. There were also legal challenges from environmental groups, seeking accountability for the harm caused to wildlife and the environment. 5. The legacy of Balloonfest '86. Over time, the Cleveland Balloonfest disaster became a cautionary tale of the dangers of poorly planned large-scale events. The disaster highlighted the need for careful consideration of the environmental impact and logistical concerns of seemingly harmless public spectacles. Ban on balloon releases. In the wake of the Balloonfest tragedy, Cleveland, along with many other cities, introduced laws to ban the mass release of balloons. The event became a major point of reference for discussions on environmental responsibility and the unintended consequences of public celebrations. Reputation damage to United Way. The United Way suffered a significant blow to its reputation after the disaster. The charity was initially seen as a responsible, community-oriented organization, but after the Balloon Fest, its image was tarnished. Though they quickly distanced themselves from the event's tragic outcome, the public perception of the United Way was forever linked to Balloonfest. Environmental awareness. The event also led to a broader awareness of the dangers of plastic waste and balloon debris, which can cause significant harm to wildlife. Over time, it sparked campaigns and policy changes aimed at reducing balloon pollution and improving waste management practices at large-scale public events. The lasting impact and the lessons learned. The Cleveland Balloonfest disaster of 1986 is a unique and tragic example of how good intentions can go wrong when there's insufficient planning and consideration of the broader impact of large-scale events. While the event was meant to be a fun and uplifting moment for the community, it instead became a public relations disaster with lasting consequences. Some key lessons that came out of the disaster include: 1. Environmental responsibility. The event demonstrated the importance of environmental stewardship, especially when organizing large public spectacles. Balloon releases, which are now banned in many places, can cause significant harm to both urban environments and wildlife. 2. Planning for the unexpected. The Balloonfest disaster showed how crucial it is to plan for contingencies and understand how uncontrollable elements like weather patterns, wind direction, and human factors can interfere with the success of an event. 3. Public safety considerations. The tragic plane crash illustrated the need to factor in public safety when planning events that can affect air and road traffic. The unintended consequences for those caught in the chaos highlighted the importance of considering all aspects of an event's potential impact. The Cleveland Balloonfest disaster is remembered as one of the strangest and most significant public event failures in history, offering valuable insights into the complex interplay between good intentions, public celebrations, and the need for responsible planning.